According to multiple reports, PBC offered Canelo Alvarez a multi-fight deal to sign with them. Petty. And the rumor is he declined the offer, potentially ruining his opportunity to become undisputed champion at 168. Many of us already know that Caleb Plant holds the last belt that Canelo Alvarez needs. So what does this mean? Is Canelo Alvarez aborting his mission to become undisputed in yet another weight class? Y'all do remember he changed his mind at 160. It's me again. Demetrius Andrade had the last belt Canelo Alvarez needed. Horrible fighter. That's what he said when asked if he would be willing to unify with Demetrius Andrade.
You fight nobody. He's a boring fighter.
Canelo had all of these excuses not to get the last belt off Demetrius Andrade. Now look at you.
You've got PBC problems there, boy. Yes, sir, Bob.
He didn't have those type of problems at 160. Demetrius Andrade was willing and ready to unify with Canelo Alvarez, no problem. But now if he wants to become undisputed at 68, he'll have to sell his soul to the dark side. But what's the problem? Manny Pacquiao came to the PBC. Why not Canelo? You got big fights over there. You got Jamal Charlo, David Benavidez, Caleb Plant, Errol Spence. Plus, he gets to be closer to his idol, the only opponent to humiliate Canelo Alvarez in front of millions of fans. But he learned a lot from that loss and became better. But he better figure it out. It's not looking too good for Canelo Alvarez in this undisputed pursuit. Canelo Alvarez wanted to become the first Mexican undisputed champ in the four-belt era. This will be great for his own legacy and Mexico. But because he passed up on the opportunity at 160, and the way PBC is playing hardball, he may never reach his dream to become undisputed champion of the world. Mission failed. Word to the wise: never pass up on a horrible fighter's belt. Seize the opportunity, capture the world title, and elevate your legacy to a whole nother level.
Mr. KO, you're like a god to me.
Like a god. Son, I am God. God, Allah, Buddha, all rolled up into one big nigga.
Shouts out the Black Horseman and the entire UGC. So what have we learned today so far? That it's all been a farce. It's always been a lie. It's always been an excuse. Canelo fans exposes that Canelo ducked Demetrius Andrade. They ain't got to worry about other people doing it. His fan base does it for him. And we're finna prove it right here and right now, because there's a couple questions that Canelo fans refuse to answer because they know they can't answer it, because they painted themselves into a corner when it came to fanboy excuses. Now they can't exit that corner unless they expose themselves for the pom-pom wearing fanboys that they are. So how do we do that? It's very simple. Let's start with this one question right here. Who has Caleb Plant fought to deserve a fight with Canelo Alvarez? I'm going to wait. This is the question that can't never be answered. All the Canelo fans in the world will show up in the comment section, will leave everything up under the sun but the answer to this question. But we already know how they might go. They might tell you, well, no, Caleb Plant hasn't fought anybody, but he's a champion. Okay, he's a champion. And they say, Bruce, isn't champions supposed to fight champions? You damn right. But where was that energy when he was at 160? Okay? Most people say it's not about his resume. It's because he had a belt. Well, Demetrius Andrade had a belt when he could have fought him at 160. Okay? So notice how somebody just having a belt isn't good enough when you're afraid of the opponent that he's going to face. Now, once again, when you try to get shots with Canelo, people always scream, who has he fought? But Caleb Plant's resume is no better than Demetrius Andrade's. Facts, mic drop. Facts, mic drop. Them is facts. He doesn't have a better resume but Demetrius Andrade. But they'll tell you it's because he was a champion. But that doesn't make sense because Andrade was a champion back then. And he had a belt back then. He had all the things that Caleb Plant has right now with a matching resume. So you tell me, why didn't the fight happen? Because they scared. And they know they scared. Even if Canelo's not scared. The team that runs them is scared. They don't want to take the risk. It's a scary fight. They want to stay away from it. This is where franchise champion comes in. This is where all this stuff comes in. Now you ask a Super Saiyan Canelo fanboy to give you a proper excuse for that. They can't. It's checkmate. It's check over. You have to understand that your excuses created a bridge that did not allow a return passage. You're stuck over there in fanboy land because you say it's all about people's resumes. But Caleb Plant doesn't have a resume that's better than Demetrius Andrade. And to counter that, then you come back and say it's because he had a belt. But Demetrius Andrade had a belt when he could have been undisputed then. And this is where the whole thing kicks into play. This is why that video was so valid. You could have did it back then when you didn't have to deal with Al Haymon. And now you got to deal with Al Haymon and y'all crying and it's a fucking problem. Well, maybe you should have listened to boxing fans when they was telling you that they wanted to see this fight. But y'all said it was hating in. Y'all said it was this. Y'all said it was that. So now, don't get mad that Canelo Alvarez has to bow down to the mighty Al Haymon and kiss his ass if he ever wanted to see Undisputed. That's not boxing fans' fault. That's fanboys' fault. So holla at your fighter.